This is a video tour of a B-17 bomber. This particular one is the Olde Pub, owned by the Erickson Collection and flown by the Liberty Foundation. We'll enter the rear door of the plane, and looking toward the tail here, you see the rear landing gear where it retracts up into the plane. Looking past that, back down the tunnel there, is where the tail gunner would be. They did have that blocked off because the crew uses this area for storage, but if you crawl back through there is the tail gunner position. Looking forward toward the front of the plane, first thing you see are the two waist gunner positions with their 50 caliber Browning machine guns. This aircraft has 10 50 caliber Brownings on it. Some models had as many as 13. They carried about 11,000 rounds of 50 caliber ammunition. You see some of the sighting mechanism for the gun where they can dial in distance and speed and kind of calculate how much to lead the plane, so that when you're firing at an enemy plane you're actually firing ahead of it, so hopefully the plane and the bullets get to the same space at the same time. Here you see the belt-fed mechanism that takes the 50 caliber ammunition from the ammo box and feeds it up to the machine gun. This is the top side of the belly turret and the hatch to get down into it. I believe the yellow bottles you see throughout the plane are oxygen. Next we move into the radio operator's compartment. Some models of the B-17s have this open port on top of the airplane, and I really do not know why they have this opening. But these aircraft were not pressurized cabins. They did have open windows and open ports, and you know, during the war they were flying 10,000 feet and higher, sometimes in temperatures down to negative 40 degrees. So it was not a comfortable flight. Some crew members had to wear electric underwear that actually had heating coils in the clothing. to keep them warm enough. Next we come to the bomb bay, and there are 4 bomb racks, one on either side of the plane, and then you see 2 racks in the center of the plane, either side of the catwalk. And you can see the bomb bay doors are open here. And this catwalk is very narrow. You can see it's barely wider than my foot. And it's a pretty tight squeeze to get between these 2 inboard bomb racks. These planes were designed for young, skinny men. Now we approach the cockpit, and you see 2 jump seats here. I'm not really sure what crew members would have used those. Originally these had a crew of 10 people. You had a pilot, co-pilot, navigator, radio man, 2 waist gunners, belly gunner, your bombardier, tail gunner, you can see this plane is sitting at Bowman Field in Louisville, Kentucky. Good view of the old original tower and administration building, terminal building at Bowman Field. Plane's undergoing a little maintenance here, so while the crew are working on the engines, I'm crawling around inside the airplane. Here's our radio panel. And your throttle controls. And if you crawl down through this little passageway underneath the cockpit, you come up to the navigator and bombardier stations. And you can see there are 2 more Browning machine guns here on either side of the nose of the plane. And here's our navigator station. You can see the engines with the cowling off of them while they do some maintenance on the plane. Here's our bomb bay controls. Now you're up in the very nose of the plane where the bombardier would sit. And this is the highly classified top secret Norden bomb site. Or at least it was at the time. One of the unique things about this bomb site is that it was actually tied into the autopilot system. So pretty much the bombardier or the bomb site pretty much took over control of the plane. The pilot would get on the right line going into the target, but then the bombardier could somewhat take control of the plane at that point to make sure it was a pinpoint drop of the bombs on the target. See some of the plumbing for the hydraulics and electronics. This is a neat instrument that could measure the lateral drift of the plane due to wind. Down here you can see there's the forward hatch that comes out of the underside of the plane underneath the cockpit. Over here you have your fire extinguisher bottles. You can see some of the cables and pulleys going to the surface controls on the wings and elevators. Again, looking back toward the tail of the plane through the bomb bay, a forward view of the bomb bay. Pretty much what the pilot and co-pilot's view would be. Looking out the cockpit window at these massive wings with the four big 1200 horsepower radial engines. This plane had a wingspan of 103 feet and 4 inches. Length is about 74 feet. And this plane stands about 19 feet high. Empty weight is 36,000 pounds, and maximum load is somewhere around 65,000 pounds. Again, you can see how narrow this catwalk is to get from the forward part of the plane to the rear. Some 13,000 B-17s were produced. Over 8,000 were lost in combat. There's only about 8 that are still flying today. There's another peek through the gun sight of a Browning 50 caliber machine gun. This plane does have plexiglass coverings over the side ports where the machine guns are for the waist gunners, but in some models that was all just open. This airplane was originally manufactured as a B-17G model, and it was converted to a Pathfinder model. In fact, it's one of the last Pathfinders ever built, or the last one in existence. When the Erickson Foundation, or Erickson Collection, got the plane, they put it back to the B-17G configuration, and it was painted silver last year, as a matter of fact, and it was named the Madras Maiden. Just this past January, they finished converting it to an earlier B-17F configuration and changed the paint scheme to the green with Olde Pub. One of the major differences you'll see in the configuration for the B-17F is they did remove 2 machine gun chin turret that was up underneath the nose of the airplane. Here's a look at the belly turret. You had to be a pretty small, wiry guy to take this position. You're basically laying on your back with your knees drawn up almost to your chest with a machine gun on either side of your head. here we'll take a look up into the bomb bay from underneath the plane. You can see the cowlings from the engines lying on the ground while they do some maintenance on the engines.
How are you doing?
And that's the video tour of the B17 Olde Pub. Thank you for watching.